Hello, everyone. Welcome. Good afternoon. I'm going to give another minute to let a few more people join, and then we will get started. I hope everyone's having a lovely Thursday. It is beautiful outside, at least where I am. All right. Welcome. My name is Carmen, and I am the training coordinator at the Temple Small Business Development Center. The Temple SBDC helps small businesses start and grow. We provide free one-on-one counseling and a variety of low to no cost webinars, and we are proud to be a part of the nationally accredited network of SBDCs with over 1,000 centers across the United States. You have joined us today for Power of the Inbox, Tips and Tricks for Successful Email Marketing, presented by Constant Contact. A copy of today's PowerPoint and a link to the recording of the seminar will be sent out to all attendees. And while all attendees have been muted, we encourage you to post any questions in the chat. Please, the chat, not the Q&A. And now I will turn the floor over to Ken.
Hey, thanks so much, Carmen. And hello, everybody. If you're on the East Coast, good afternoon to you. It's just a little bit afternoon time. And if you're joining us from someplace else, good morning or good evening to you. And just as a matter of curiosity, go ahead and use the chat that Carmen just mentioned. Let us know where you're joining us from. Let us know what city or state or country if you're joining us from outside the US. Go ahead and use the chat. Let's see where we have folks joining us from. And if you're not sure where to find the chat, just move your mouse down to the bottom of the screen and you'll see the toolbar show up. So I see so far we've got Todd in Berks County, we have Seton in Plymouth Meeting, Aaron in Pottstown, and we have a few folks from Philly, home of the Philly Eagles, love it. And Landenberg, I'm not sure where that is, that Pennsylvania also. And we have Melanie in Renfrew, Ontario. So we do have an international crowd. So great to have everybody with us. I'm in Orlando, Florida, and we actually have a Chamber of Commerce weather day today here. It's 76 degrees and sunny. There are many people who would prefer to be in 76 than 46 and the other way around. So wherever you're joining us from, welcome. Glad you're here. So without wasting any time, let's go ahead and get things underway. As Carmen mentioned, you'll get a copy of the recording for attending. And we also have a couple of ways for you to share in the content as well. I will be making the entire presentation available to you. If you take a look at the lower right-hand corner of the screen on every slide I show, you'll see that same QR code until we get toward the end. There I'll change it up a little bit. But if you take a shot of that QR code, you'll be able to download the entire presentation. It'll be in a 4-up version PDF, so 4 slides to a page. And I'll have some other ways for you to get all of the information that you'd like. I'm just delighted that you're here with us today. So this is Power of the Inbox, Tips and Tricks for Successful Email Marketing. I always love to start out my sessions with this question: why are you here today? And I'm pretty confident that I know the answer. It's probably that you want to make more money. Well, you're in the right place. When we think about email marketing, one of the things that is so great about email is its ROI. You get a 36-to-1 return on your investment when you're using email marketing, and that's just on average. I'll show you a case study toward the end of this session where one of our clients is actually getting 150-to-1 ROI. It's 3 times the ROI of social media. You may not have realized that, but with all the hype around things like Facebook and Instagram and TikTok and LinkedIn and Twitter combined, they only deliver a 12-to-1 ROI. So I don't know about you, I'll take 36-to-1 over 12-to-1 any day of the week. This makes email marketing undeniably the single best tool you have to consistently grow your business. Now, I'm going to ask a question here. Raise your hand if you are currently using email marketing? Go ahead and use the toolbar and raise your hand. Let us know if you're using email at all. Aaron and Rachel and Laura are using it. And for the rest of you, maybe you didn't find the toolbar yet. Maybe you did. There's Karma also. Okay, so for by and large, it looks like most of you are not yet using email. So this makes it perfect for you, because this session can help you if you're just starting out with email marketing, or maybe you're somewhat experienced, but you're not yet getting at least $36 back for every dollar you spend, or maybe you're very experienced, but you want more than $36 back for every dollar you spend on the campaigns. If you're any of these people, you're in the right place. So let's help you make more money. As I mentioned, you can get a copy of today's presentation. The SBDC has a handout that they'll be sending out to everybody that attended today. But if you'd like every single slide there is, here are two ways you can get it. One is use the QR code, which will take you to a landing page where I just ask you for an email address and your first name. Or you can go to my website, which is kenisemail.com/March9. In fact, you know what? Let me do this. Let me go ahead and put that in the chat just to make it easy for you, because I'd love to be able to give you all the help you need while we're together for this short amount of time. If you see me looking away from the camera, it's because I'm not that great a typist, so I need to look down and make sure I'm typing correctly. But that's how you can click a link and get access to all of the slides. So at this point, I'm just going to ask you to remove any other distractions. I know for a lot of people at this hour of the day, their phone is blowing up with texts and emails are coming in. I would simply ask you to remove those distractions for the next 45 to 50 minutes or so, because we are only together for a short amount of time. And I go through the material fairly quickly. I want to be sure that you take advantage of the time together and ask questions if you have them. But today you're going to learn how the best of the best succeed with email marketing. And during our short time together today, you'll learn how to create effective email marketing campaigns. You'll learn how to get more opens and clicks, and you'll learn how to get more business and more repeat business. I promise you, you can do this. So let me start out by asking this, and I'm going to ask you to use the chat box. Tell me what the #1 cell phone app is. Go ahead and put it in the chat. What's the #1 cell phone app? Robbie says YouTube, Google Maps. What else? Weather app, Facebook, TikTok. We've got a lot of great responses coming in. The answer is email. Think about it. Most people are using their phones, smartphones, tablets, to check their email. In fact, 99% of people are checking their email every day. And the fact is, and there's research to back everything up that I'm showing you here, 77% of people prefer to be marketed to through email marketing. Email marketing's ROI, as I mentioned, is 36-1, the highest ROI of any marketing tool out there. So we're going to talk about how email marketing will boost your sales and profits. And I could literally spend days teaching you everything there is to know about email marketing, but we don't have that much time. So are you ready? Go ahead and put a yes in the chat box. Robbie is first one in. Okay, let's get started. Why do we talk about email? It's because it works everywhere. It works at acquiring new customers. It has 3 times the conversion rate of social media. And as I've mentioned a couple of times, for every dollar spent on email, there's a 36-1 average ROI. People read email. 99% of people are checking their email every day, and nearly 90% are checking it on their smartphones. One of the things that makes it work so well compared to social media is that email gets delivered over 90% of the time, where Facebook text posts only reach 2% of fans. So said another way, let's say you send out an email to 100 people, you can rest assured that somewhere between 95 and 99 of those people are actually going to receive it, where of the same 100 people, only 2 will see something that you post on Facebook if it's a text post. The other thing too is that an email stays in the inbox until somebody takes action on it. So it'll always be there. And especially if it's unread, it'll show as unread. Where if you post something on Facebook, let's say at 8 o'clock in the morning, and the recipient, the person you're trying to reach, doesn't check Facebook that day, or maybe they check it very late in the day, they may never see what you're trying to reach them with. This all makes email marketing undeniably the single best tool you have to consistently grow your business. So you can harness the power of the inbox. Are you ready? Give me a yes again in the chat box. All right, Aaron's first one in this time. Hey, before we continue, my name's Ken Countess. I'm a 40-year marketing veteran. I worked over my career at 4 Fortune 100 companies. You see a few of the logos below. I've been a SCORE and SBDC partner for quite a few years, and I've spent over 20 years helping businesses grow. My company is kenisemail.com. It's a division of a 20-year-old company called the Countess Group. And I've been Constant Contact's top worldwide trainer for quite a few years. And I've again been named their top worldwide trainer. Well, let's talk about what we're going to cover. We're going to talk about why you should be using email marketing, what it is and what it isn't, and what email can do for your business. I'll talk about how to harness the power of the inbox, and then we'll take a few minutes to put it all together. So what is it that email marketing can do for your business? It can create and increase awareness. It can help you boost repeat business. It's a great way to bring people back to you that have already purchased your product or service or donated to your cause. Remember, you've invested money to acquire these customers, and they've already had a positive experience with you, hopefully. And it's much easier to ask for revenue again from people who have already done business with you than to spend even more money trying to farm and look for new prospects. In fact, there's a lot of research out there. One piece of research will tell you that it takes 7 times more money to find new customers than to do more business with existing customers. And that's one of the powers of email marketing. I get often asked, hey, is email dying? I mean, with all this social media stuff out there and texting and all, is email going away? Here's the answer: absolutely not. And as proof of that, you may know the name MailChimp. MailChimp is a product that's very similar to Constant Contact. It's been around for over 20 years, just like Constant Contact. And there are many, many email marketing companies out there. Well, I can tell you this: if email marketing were dying, then Intuit, who is a company best known for TurboTax and QuickBooks and Mint, they would not have bought MailChimp for $12 billion about a year and a half ago. Intuit's got a lot of pretty smart people. They wouldn't be investing $12 billion in a dying technology. So let's move on. Let's talk about harnessing the power of the inbox. You know, first impressions really, really matter. We know this in interpersonal skills, face-to-face, happens online too. So when someone opens up your email, they'll give it a 2-second glance. And then they'll either read on or delete it. And what they see is going to determine what they do next. Maybe you want them to visit your website, register for an event, donate to your nonprofit, or try a new product. This is where a professional looking email designed to drive action is crucial. So I want you to take a look at the difference between an email sent from something like Outlook or Gmail or a Yahoo account even. That's something, a text email like the one on the left, or something on the right. Clearly, it looks much more professional, and that will actually help you get a little bit closer to achieving and surpassing your goals. By the way, both of these are from Southside Cycling, both of them, and they have exactly the same content. So if these were to show up in your inbox, which one do you think you would read? The one on the left or the one on the right? Put an L or an R in the chat. Which one would you pay attention to if it showed up in your inbox? Yeah, of course, everybody is saying right, because nobody likes to read a lot of text, but we love pictures, right? And a picture is worth 1,000 words. Here's why regular email doesn't work. It's because you have a limited number of people you can send to at one time. If you had, for instance, 800 people on your list, with most applications, you can only send to between 50 and 80 at a time if you're not using an email marketing service. With an email marketing service, you can send to an unlimited number of people at one time. If you're not using an email service, you have no way to really effectively control the formatting of the email. It's very susceptible to filtering. You can't cohesively brand your email. If you look at the one on the right, you really have no idea who it's coming from in terms of imagery. You open yourself up to potential spam complaints, and there's no tracking or reporting. Whereas email marketing best practices make you look great. If you're using a service like Constant Contact, that will automatically help you by providing great looking templates. It'll help to reinforce your brand identity. It'll help you automatically manage subscriptions. You don't have to manually unsubscribe people if they want to opt out of your list. It ensures that the mail is going to get delivered. You can track the results name by name. You can get data on how many opened your email, how many clicked on it. And of course, very importantly, it'll help you obey the law. Now, there are 7 elements of email design, and these are the 7. Every email should have a header, a pre-header, which is the text that appears just under the subject line, your logo and colors, which of course you want to have remain consistent, one image, a short message body, one call to action, and then information in the footer, which lets people know how to reach you. So those are the 7 elements, but when it comes to sending out an email on a regular basis, you only need to change a few of them in order to have an effective campaign. So you need to think about what types of emails you might send. Would it be like a time-based one where there's an event coming up, or maybe something that's purely informational? By the way, if you're not familiar with Constant Contact, if you haven't used it before, or maybe you have and you let the subscription expire and maybe you want to try it again, especially after attending this session, I've just dropped in the chat box a way for you to try Constant Contact completely free for 60 days with no credit card required. All right, so let's move on. Of those 5 things that you want to change on an email, the very first one you want to change each time is the subject line. When you start creating an email campaign, you can follow whatever flow works best for you. In this instance, I've created a master template So the from name and the reply email addresses are already set up within the header information. They don't change. And then when we create an email campaign, we need to change out the subject line and the pre-header text to fit whatever topic that email is about. So you have to get a little bit creative to entice your readers. Let me give you some ideas. Let's talk about some techniques that you can use to spark your creativity to write your subject lines. One of the things you want to do is get creative with that subject line. And so I'm going to give you a variety of types of subject lines that you might use. First, you can try using you or your to make your email feel more personal to your audience. So in this example, we might be driving the database. It's basically using a mail merge, if you're familiar with that. So it'll grab the first name of the person in your database. And in this example, it's, hey, John, schedule your consultation today. Another opportunity might be to create a sense of urgency. An example here is last chance, register by Friday. Another idea, make them laugh with a joke or a pun. In this case, the example might be read between the lines. You can also try to pull at their heartstrings. Maybe you work for a nonprofit, and this would be something like, take 5 minutes to help children in need. Another opportunity for you, another strategy is to try piquing their interest and tease them a bit with something such as, you won't want to miss this. Another idea is to ask a question. Be inquisitive. Ask your readers a question with a headline such as, are your investments working for your business? And last but not least, use numbers. Numbers attract attention. Our brains are naturally drawn to digits. So try something like 5 tips for perfectly grilled ribs. Now, any of these ideas that I've shared can be adjusted, of course, to work for any type of business. So try these different types of subject lines out over time and see what works best for your audience. So those are some of the do's. Here are some of the don'ts. Since I've given you some great ideas to be creative, there are some things you want to avoid. So for instance, you don't want to type in your subject in all caps. That may get you in the spam folder. You also don't want to use excessive punctuation or too many symbols. These types of things can drop you into a spam folder, so keep them in mind so that your customers actually get to see your message in their inbox and not in the junk folder. Here's something else for you. I mentioned the pre-header text a few moments ago. Now that you've got a few ideas for the subject line, let's go back and talk about another section of your header information, and that is the pre-header text. Pre-header text displays right after or below the subject line within the inbox. The pre-header is where you can add a little context to the content of your email without actually sharing the answer. I recommend writing pre-header text that's between 5 and 8 words. Now, just keep in mind that all email programs and devices will show different lengths of your pre-header, so just make sure that the most important information is at the very beginning. Now, you could use your email's pre-header in a variety of ways, whether you add your call to action, preview content, or even add a sense of urgency to your email. Just remember, you think about the pre-header text as an extension of your subject line. Now, let me give you a couple of ideas. Let's go back and see how we can pair pre-header text with the subject line examples from before. Now, remember the first subject line was for John, schedule a consultation today. We can also do other things like pair that pre-header text in ways that will help them learn a little bit more about the email. So here, for instance, we say, John, schedule your consultation today. That's in the subject line. In the pre-header, it might be, personalized tips to lead a happy life. In the example of creating a sense of urgency where the subject was last chance, register by Friday, the pre-header might be reserve your spot today. Our classes fill quickly. How about making them laugh? Read between the lines, maybe followed up with enter your photo for a chance to win big. Or pulling at the heartstrings. The pre-header on that one might be $10 can provide a child with school supplies. Or if you pique their interest with you won't want to miss this, the pre-header might be get our 3 secrets to growing your business. Asking a question like, are your investments working for your business? A pre-header for that one might be 3 questions to ask to help maximize your results. And then that last example of 5 tips for perfectly grilled ribs, the pre-header might be ribs that will knock your socks off. So those are the first 2 things in an email. Next, we want to provide a supporting image. Now, for those of you who have been following along and maybe you've attended one of my workshops in the past, you'll remember that every email should have an image or a supporting visual. That image needs to be inspiring and help your customers or prospects or supporters connect with your message and also entice them to take action. It's usually best to utilize real photos from your day-to-day operations to help better tell your story and inform readers about your products and services. And when you use stuff that you've created, then you don't have to worry about copyright issues or trying to find images on stock photo sites. These days, you can use a smartphone to take pictures. The cameras in today's smartphones are so good, the quality is so high, you can use those in an email campaign. And by the way, don't forget about video and animated GIFs. On the left-hand side, you see an email that's got that little triangle in there indicating that there's a video. And on the right-hand side, you see an email that has some rotating images or GIFs, and they help attract attention. When you see things moving, and when someone sees something like that in their inbox, they're thinking, gee, I wonder what that is. And they actually open up the email and probably take action on it. So at this point, I've probably covered enough to give you a sense of what to put in the body of a campaign. But before I move on, I just want to touch base on how important it is to just keep those emails simple. Simplicity makes an email easy to read, quicker for you to create, because we don't want to spend all day creating an email that people aren't going to spend much time on. So to inspire your readers to take action, you've got to keep your emails short and sweet. When you create a master template, then all you really need to do is add a picture, a paragraph, and a call to action. That's it. That's all you need to do. So let's move on. I mentioned call to action, and you may be wondering, what do you mean? What is that CTA? Well, depending on whether you want someone to sign up or make a purchase, the call to action is what's going to help you reach your goals. Every email you send should include one call to action. Even if it's as simple as driving people to your website to find out more information or to read your blog, or to simply see a list of products or services. In that email, you want to include a button with actionable words that take them directly to a place where they can take further action. And there are probably a million different calls to action you could have and different ways to approach them. So let me give you a couple of ideas here, some examples on some different goals you might have. So these examples are going to be the text that goes on your button. So if you want people to make a purchase, you might have words on a button like these: order yours today, or they're going fast, get yours, or schedule a consultation, or donate now. Maybe you want to give them a deal. They may click a button that says save now, or buy now and get 10% off, or claim your coupon, or unwrap your surprise deal. You could use your call to action to promote your social channels. So it might be something like be our friend, or like us on Facebook, or are you following us, or share a photo on Instagram. In each of these cases, we have a button that inspires action. So let's talk about the other part of creating a successful call to action. And those might be things that link your button to places that you want people to go. So in most cases, you're going to want to link your button up so that people can take action directly from your call to action. I've just lost my slides here. Let me just go back to it very quickly. Give me just a second here. Let's see. Let me do a stop share for a moment, and then let's go right back to it so we don't miss a beat. We'll go right back here. There we go. It's funny when, it's like live TV. When you're doing things live, you just never know what's going to happen. And sometimes these quirky little things occur. So let me move back to where we were, which are, let's see. Let's go right here. All right. And let's resume the slides. So here we're talking about directing them on where to take action. And that place to have them take action can be any number of things. So here we're asking someone to share photos and videos. And here we're driving them to take action to go to a Facebook page. Are you still with me? Type a 4 in the chat box. There we go. Thank you. Glad to see everybody still with me. So let's also talk now about growing your list, because growing your list is something you need to do. And oh, by the way, you need to ask people to join your list. The fact is that nobody wakes up in the morning saying, gee, I can't wait to get another email. So you want to do things that are going to inspire them to join your list. Now, among the ways we do that, and once again, I want to stress that it's really important to ask for permission when you want people to join your list. And the way you do that is among these things. Number one, make sure that you get express consent and be straightforward. Tell them that if they join your list, this is what to expect. When people join your mailing list, you by law have to offer them a way to opt out. You want to respect their privacy and not sell their information. And of course, we always want to be legally compliant. There are 3 categories of list growth, and they are to have people join your list in person, join your list online, or maybe by using print material. And I'm going to spend a few moments here describing for you exactly how we do that. The first is if you're asking people to join your list in person, it may be while making a purchase, or maybe while you're helping them. Let's say you have a brick and mortar location. You might ask them if they'd be willing to join your mailing list, perhaps at events, or the other way to do it, like most things these days, they might be able to join using an app. Constant Contact and several other email service providers do have apps that enable people to sign up right from the comfort of their smartphone in their hand. Using print material, it might be with signage at your location. You can have business cards that have a QR code on them that gives them a way to sign up for a mailing list right from a business card, or flyers or brochures, or even indirect mail. You can also use text to sign up for a list. And then, of course, where most of us are spending our time, it seems these days, it's online. So you can have sign-up forms that are on your website or on social media, or maybe in an email signature, or during an online purchase, or if they're making a donation. But there are lots of ways that you can create online forms and links to help people sign up to join your list. But people have to have a reason. They want a reason to subscribe. So most of the time, people will join a list in order to receive discounts or coupons. If you have a nonprofit, to show support for your cause, or maybe to receive exclusive content. You may have material that's called gated content, where the only way someone can actually access that content is by joining a mailing list. Now, oftentimes I get asked the question, well, gee, I have no idea what to write. Here are a few ideas. Number one, focus on being relevant to your subscribers. And the trick is to make sure that you understand how much is really enough. And when I say that, oftentimes we get people who say, gee, I'm going to put everything I can into an email because I know readers are going to read it. Well, the reality is that most people spend only a few seconds on an email. So when it comes to how much is enough, less is more. Less is more. I'll give you a little bit more on that in a few moments. But the thought here is that you don't want to spend your lifetime or your workday creating emails that are not going to have much time spent on them. You want to, if you're stuck for content, think about the kinds of questions that people ask you every day. That makes for great content. You're the expert in your field. People are coming to you for expert advice. That is perfect content to put into an email campaign. And by the way, images are content too. We all know that a picture is worth 1,000 words, right? It's always important to write for your audience and not for you, because 38% of people will unsubscribe or opt out if they find your content boring, and 32% will mark it as spam if it's not relevant. So make sure your content is always the right content for your audience. Now, I addressed this a few moments ago about how much is enough. And I use the phrase less is more. You should never have more than 3 articles, no more than 3 images, and no more than 3 calls to action. The fact is that one link will be most effective in an email campaign. So wherever possible, you want to limit the links to get more clicks. The chart that you're looking at here is showing you that for emails that have just one thing to click on, they get the most clicks. And the more links you have in your email, as you move to the right in that chart, the number of clicks goes down. People just look at these emails and it's like, I don't know what to do, so I'm not going to do anything. And so for that reason, you want to keep the content short and sweet. As I referenced a moment ago, sometimes we get stuck for content. We all do. So one of the ways to get around that is to take the questions that people might ask you on a daily basis and turn those into the content for your next email. So for example, especially now at tax time, accountants are getting questions like, are any of my expenses tax deductible? Well, the subject line for an email like that might be 5 tips to minimize your tax burden. As I mentioned, images are content too. 90% of information processed by the brain is visual content. So grabbing a great image is going to go a long way for you to be successful with an email campaign. In every case, make your images clickable. We have become so conditioned to clicking on images we see. So make sure that when you have images in your email campaign, that you make them clickable. Keep that key action that you want them to take above the scroll line, because most people don't scroll to the bottom of an email. So if your clickable item is way down at the bottom, you may become very disappointed to see that people aren't clicking. So make sure that the stuff you want them to click on is near the top of the page and not near the bottom. And as I've mentioned, limit the number of choices. Too much is too much. Email marketing allows you to look great and recognizably you in any inbox. So today's email service providers, most of them, will automatically reformat your content so it looks great on a mobile device as well as on a desktop. But be sure that you're recognizable everywhere. Make sure that your branding is consistent every place you go. So use the same color formatting, the same color palette, the same logo, and make sure that you're easy to recognize online. There are several different ways you can use email campaigns. One is the traditional way, we call them newsletters. Announcements are a great way to stay top of mind with your readers, and from time to time offering up promotions as well. But there's a very simple recipe for success with email campaigns. Number one is to use a single column template. What that means is that gone are the days where we have two or three different columns in our emails. Just one column is what you want. Use 3 images or fewer. Keep the amount of text to a minimum. Keep the number of links to 3 or fewer. And as I've mentioned, make sure that you keep that action you want them to take above the scroll line, meaning that they don't have to scroll down in your email in order to see your call to action. And there are 4 reasons you can give them to pay attention to the emails that you've sent. One is make sure that they recognize who's sending that email. About 70% of people open up an email based on who it's from. About 38% open it up based on the subject line. The time of day and day of week are important too, and depending on the type of business you have, it may be midday, midweek for your business. It may be evenings and weekends for other kinds of business. And the best way to do that is test, 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 test. And make sure also that you make it easy for them to connect with you on social media from inside your email campaign. As I mentioned, 70% of people open up an email based on who it's from. So it's important to understand how people know you best. So make sure your from name and your from email are recognizable, because people get up in the morning and they open up their inbox, and in fact, all day long, their inbox is filling up. So you want to be sure that you're recognizable. When people are checking their emails on a smartphone, they're just scrolling through to make sure that they're not missing something from the person that they want to hear from. So make sure that the content you send is coming from a recognizable source, because what you want to be is the person whose email stops someone in their tracks, so that they stop and they look and they read your email. As I mentioned, more than 1/3 of people open up an email based on the subject line. So the first thing people think about is this worth reading? Is this really worth my time? So make sure your subject line is something that gets their attention. Identify your purpose right away. Be clear and be clever. Keep that subject line short and sweet. Keep it to 30 characters, including spaces, or fewer. And the number 30 comes from this fact. iPhones cut off a subject line that's more than 30 characters. So you want to be sure that as best you can, that the important part of your subject line shows up on a smartphone. That's the lowest common denominator. So keep the subject line to somewhere between 4 and 7 words. I like to use the rule of thumb between 4 and 7 syllables. And make sure you control the pre-header text. I mentioned earlier, we want 5 to 8 words and no more than that. So entice them. Have a grabber subject line. Use pre-header text to help fill in the blanks so that they understand exactly why they will be missing something if they don't open up your email. And as I mentioned before, there are things that you should not use. These are the kinds of things that have you wind up in the spam folder. So don't use the word free too much. Don't use act now too much. The words fast and guarantee and advertisement, using all caps and using excessive punctuation, those are all bad. You want to get people's attention. You want them to take action. So be sure that you're avoiding those spam-like terms that I just mentioned. And if the email service provider you're using does have a spam checker, be sure you use that as well. And make sure that you use social media buttons inside your emails. They can double the click-through rates. And make sure that you're checking the metrics. Check on the data. Make sure that you're understanding why people are opening up your email. You can actually see who's clicking on the links, how often they click on the links, which ones they're clicking on if you happen to have many links inside your email, and know which of the metrics matter. So here are a couple of examples I'll give you. In terms of open rates, the industry averages are between 8 and 28%. If you're falling below that, you and I need to talk. When it comes to clicks, clicks can vary between 5 and 18%. The click is what tells you that someone actually did take action. Open rates are a little bit misleading. You can actually get a false positive thinking that people are actually reading your email when in fact they may have just scanned it. It shows up as having been opened when they actually have not opened it at all. Industry averages on the did not open run as high as 92%. You want to be sure that the people unsubscribing is kept to under 1%. And you have to keep an eye on the bounces too. Bounces are the ones that aren't getting delivered at all. It may be that they're on vacation. It may be that it's a non-existent address. They may have changed companies or mail servers. So you always want to keep a good eye on what's going on with your email campaigns. All right, so let's move along here. Sometimes you get consistently low metrics. That may be because you're not a recognizable name in somebody's inbox, or maybe your call to action is very, very low. And for that reason, your click rate is very small. So instead, you want to be sure that you're getting high metrics, high open rates, high click rates. And in other future workshops, we'll be able to go through those as well. And by the way, I always offer people who join my events a free 30-minute consultation, which you're more than welcome to take advantage of. I'm going to put that in the chat box here. Give me just a moment. If you've been with us for a few minutes, you know I'm a slow typist. So here we go. All right, so if you were to click that link, you'll be able to schedule one of those free 30-minute consultations with me, where we talk about your business. We talk about how to get your marketing really energized. So as we head toward the close, let me just give you a sense of what an ideal email looks like. It's got a short subject line. We use the business name in the from line to make sure we're being recognizable. We use pre-header text to entice the readers to open up that email. We make sure that we have a logo near the top that's clickable so people know instantly at a glance who it's coming from. We use consistent brand colors. We communicate through images and make them clickable. We ensure that the amount of text that we use in that email is kept to a minimum. And we have very clear calls to action, and we include the social media buttons. So as a quick recap, you have to answer 3 questions to get people to open up that email. Who's it coming from? What's the purpose? What do they want me to do? Every email should have a strong call to action. And when you're doing email campaigns, make sure that before you send that email out, that you're sending a copy to yourself and checking to make sure that all the links are working correctly. So I promised you that I would give you a little more insight on how all this works. If you joined us late, email marketing delivers a 36-to-1 return on investment, which is triple the ROI that you get from social media. I want to share with you a quick case study on how someone who was not using email marketing and started using it. And I see a note here, someone tried to fill out the form and it's not allowing you to input your info. Ruta, go ahead and just put your email address in the chat just to the hosts and panelists, and I'll be happy to send information to you. So we have a client that attended one of these workshops. It was actually in person at the Daytona Beach International Airport. And she said, I'm using Google AdWords and it's not getting me any result. So we had her try email marketing. Her business had been running at about $50,000 a year over a 4-year period. And we had her start using email marketing. She stopped using Google AdWords and within just 6 months increased her sales incrementally by $250,000. And by the end of the first year, she had gone from $50,000 in sales to $750,000 in sales. The bottom line is this: at an average 36-to-1 return on investment, email is the single best tool there is to help you grow your business. So if you joined us late, if you use this QR code or use the URL that you see down at the bottom of that slide, you'll be able to get a copy of all of the slides that I've shown during this session. And you'll also be able to set up a free consultation with me. I'll go ahead and I'll put that URL that you see on screen into the chat so that if you're having a little bit of difficulty with the QR code, you can use that link and you'll be able to download the slides, the entire presentation that I've delivered during our time together today. So we've got a few minutes for Q&A. Before we do that, let me just ask you this. Are you ready to take your business to the next level? I mean, are you really ready? Well, it's time to take action. I am honored that you took time out of your day to be with us today. Clearly, you have an interest in growing your business. So start here. Set up a free call with me. Go to my website. You'll find a way to set things up and get things going, or click that QR code and let's have a conversation. I promise you there will not be a sales pitch. This is an opportunity for you to learn more about how to grow your business. I am just delighted that you took time to be with us. I want to thank the Temple University SBDC for inviting me to do this session with you. I do hope you'll take advantage of the information we've talked about. My name is Ken Countess. My company is kenisemmail.com. And here's how you can reach out to me by with a call or a text or my email. Todd's asking, what's the cost structure for tools like Constant Contact? Todd, it starts out at just under $10 a month. It scales based on the number of contacts you have in your account. for accounts that are 500 email addresses or fewer is under $10 a month. And I can actually, because you've attended this session, get you a discount that's good for the lifetime of your account of up to 30%. Takesha, I hope I'm pronouncing this correctly, it says, what if you don't have contacts? Well, every business, Takesha, starts at zero, right? Every business starts at zero. So the way we get you started is by helping you by uploading people who are already in your contact book. These are people who already know who you are. It's the best way to start your business growing, get people to know who you are and what you do and how you might be able to help them with your business. Or if you're just looking for ways to get your business underway, that's an ideal time for you to reach out to the SBDC because they're staffed with people who know where you are, know where you're coming from, and are ready to give you a hand. So I'm going to turn it back to Carmen and say thank you, everybody, for joining us. I hope you'll reach out to me, and I look forward to seeing you again at a future event. Carmen, back to you.
Thank you so much, Ken. Okay, so I am going to post 2 links in the chat. The first is a survey about today's webinar, and we really value your feedback. If you enjoyed today's webinar, please let us know. It takes less than a minute to complete. And the second link is a link to our resource document for Temple's SBDC. It has all of our upcoming webinars, funding opportunities, and links to recordings of prior webinars that we have done. And I think that is all that I have. Ken, thank you so much for joining us today.
It's great to be with you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Everyone have a great rest of your week. Have a great weekend, and hopefully we'll see you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.